Good morning, everybody. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Desert. I'm the Reverend Ian Riddell, and I have the joy of serving this congregation as its minister, and today I have the honor of being your worship associate. As we begin, we acknowledge that we are on the historic homelands of the various bands of Cahuilla people, and we honor the unique relationship that we hope emerges between our community and the indigenous people and their traditional territory. Let this acknowledgement serve as a reminder to recognize, honor, reconcile, and partner with the Cahuilla people whose lands and water we benefit from today. In this congregation, we welcome people of all sexual orientations and gender identities, of all ages and sizes, people of all economic statuses and professions, of all physical or mental abilities, people of all races and ancestries and cultures. We welcome you wherever you come from, whoever you love, whatever your immigration status or civic engagement. We welcome all those who will learn and grow with us as we commit together to embrace the rich and beautiful diversity of the world and to build a community centered in justice, compassion, and love. You are welcome here. We're glad you're with us this morning, whether you're here in the room or at home watching online. And it is important to us here in this community to create a safe and healthy environment for everyone who gathers in worship, including those who are immunocompromised or have other risk factors. Our COVID protocols and about vaccination and mask use are in place because we wish to do everything we can to protect all of us. A reminder that masks covering your mouth and nose are required to attend in-person worship, preferably KN95 masks. If you arrived without one, we have some available at the welcome desk. Please choose to act for the health and safety of our community. And know that our service is always available streamed on our website if you need to observe from home. We have a few announcements this morning. The first is to let you know here in the room and at home that unfortunately our captioning software decided to take the morning off. So we will unfortunately not have captions today. Julia and I will do our best to enunciate clearly, and we hope the microphones will help. But we apologize for that technological problem that our AV folks have been working on for an hour now, and we're just not going to have captions today. However, it's a good time to remind you that if you are hard of hearing and would like some help, we do have a Bluetooth hearing assist that you can use through your phone. So if you want more information about that, there's some information out in the lobby, or you can talk to one of our AV folks after the service. A reminder that some hardy volunteers will be gathering here this coming Saturday, that's the 29th at 7 a.m. I didn't get that wrong, 7 a.m., to repaint the red parts of the curbs of our parking lot in our area so that they are clean and clear and help keep us safe. So that is 7 a.m. on Saturday morning. You don't need to bring anything other than yourselves and clothes that you don't mind getting some red paint on. And don't forget that next Sunday on October 30th at 11:30 here in the sanctuary, after the service, Jerry and Suzanne Hogsett will present Journey into Buddhism in Bhutan, Hinduism into Kathmandu, Nepal, and Islam in India's Kashmir. They will share slides of travels to where 3 of the world's great religions are practiced. There will be some extra homemade appetizers for the attendees added to our regular coffee hour. Please join us for this special event. If you would like to be on our email list or to learn more about us and our programming, please contact us at admin@uucod.org. That's admin@uucod.org. And now we will ring our Tibetan bowl to begin our service and then listen to our music for centering.
Good morning. Welcome on this beautiful October morning. I'm Dr. Julia Alberg-Burbank, and Reverend Ian and I will be leading the service today. You are welcome here. However you are joining us, and however you found us, our day is made better by your presence with us. I would like to share some words from Margaret Wheatley to begin our service today. As we work together to restore hope to the future, we need to include a new and strange ally, our willingness to be disturbed, our willingness to have our beliefs and ideas challenged by what others think. No one perspective can give us the answers we need to the problems of today. Curiosity is what we need. We don't have to let go of what we believe, but we do need to be curious about what someone else believes. We do need to acknowledge that their way of interpreting the world might be essential to our survival. We have the opportunity so many times a day, every day, to be the one who listens to others, curious rather than certain. But the greatest benefit of all is that listening moves us closer. When we listen with less judgment, we always develop better relationships with each other. It's not difference that divides us, it's our judgments about each other that do. Curiosity and good listening bring us back together.
And we'll remain seated for our opening hymn, Gathered Here in the Mystery of the Hour, number 389. We're going to sing it 3 times through. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit, draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit, draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit, draw near. Will you join me, please, in speaking the words of our unison aspiration as Julia lights this congregation's chalice? May love be the spirit of this church. May the quest for truth be its sacrament and service be its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, and to help one another in fellowship. This is our aspiration. And we will now light our biopot candles as we share these words together. We light these candles in solidarity with Black, Indigenous, and other people of color as they journey toward spiritual wholeness. May we, as a beloved community, work to dismantle racism and all forms of oppression. May we live out our principles so that justice, dignity, and equity for all prevail. I share this reading from my colleague, the Reverend Kendall Gibbons. Our communities of memory and promise are founded upon covenants because we all need a defense against the impulse of immediate feelings that challenge our best intentions. It is necessary to be reminded from time to time of what you said you were going to do and what you really want over and above the lure of momentary comfort. Covenant is our word for the solemn promises that counteract the randomness of a future in which anything and everything is possible, by committing us in advance to certain relationships and values. We do this because what we build with intention, and even with difficulty, is more satisfying in the long run than the pleasures that we happen to encounter. We do it in time-consuming rituals, invoking powers that we scarcely know how to name, because we are seeking some way to give our lives the density and dignity and depth that we suspect, with longing, might yet be possible. I'd like to invite our ushers to come forward as we take our offering for the day. We are grateful for these gifts of your financial resources, as we are grateful for the gifts of time and sweat and work and thought that we all bring to the thriving of this community and its work in the world. If you are at home observing the service and wish to contribute financially, you can click on the link that is in the order of service that was emailed to you this morning, or there will be another email with the collection basket link in it as well. Thank you for your generosity and the support of the work of this beloved community. When we gather together, we make it a practice of sharing the joys and sorrows of our hearts, to bring ourselves fully here into this place, to share in our joys and ask for support in our challenges. And so these are the joys and concerns of this congregation on this beautiful October day. A lot of thoughts of healing and hope this morning. A candle for speedy recovery to Rob and Jerry, who are dealing with COVID. And a candle with loving care and high hopes to both Jack and Walter. Rhina says, I wish them both the strength that they will need. And another candle, healing thoughts to Jack from our little corner of the desert. We will be thinking of you on the 26th. And there are so many joys and sorrows, I know, that live in the quiet of our hearts, that lurk in the aches of our bodies, that sit in the questioning of our spirit. And so we take a moment in our service to pause and to know and to share those with our own hearts. And so I invite you to be comfortable in your seat. Take a deep, long breath through your nose. Settle in for a time of quiet, time of holding love in your heart for yourself, for those around you, love for our neighbors and kin who are not near to us, loving kindness and hope in our heart for our cities, our state, our nation, and our world, loving kindness for all, even those we find difficult and challenging. We're not forgetting those challenges or those difficulties or those disagreements. We hold justice and hope in our hearts as well. But we hold loving kindness in this moment. We hold loving kindness because it alleviates the pain of our hearts, and it lifts us and connects us with those around. And so we breathe together into the quiet of this space, breathing in love, breathing out. May all beings know peace. May all beings know an end to suffering. May all beings know love. Will you join me now as we sing our song hymns for meditation, Spirit of Life and Fuente de Amor. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Fuente de amor, ven hacia mí, y al corazón cántale tu compasión. Sopla al volar, sube en la mar, hasta moldear la justicia de la vida. Arráyame, libérame, fuente de amor, ven a mí, ven a mí.
As a child of the 70s, I came up a fan of Star Wars. When the first film came out in 1977, I was not allowed to see it because my parents had very strict rules about G-rated films only for me. But my older siblings, who were teens at the time, were allowed to see it. And I remember feeling so left out of the experience because they talked about it incessantly, and especially because then they could tease me about having gotten to see it, and I didn't. And I was left to just imagine what this whole universe that had been created was about. So in the age of films only being screened in the theater and sometimes a public library, I think that I finally saw the original in a public library. And wherever it was, I was frightened by the evil empire when Darth Vader first takes that walk down the hallway and the music comes on. But I was also moved by the small, powerful band of disparate people standing strong against it. As a teen, I identified with the good versus evil conflict and the swagger of the rebellion, sassy, bold, and brash. And as the other films came out, I went to the theater multiple times to watch and rewatch, which is not something my kids understand having to do. But no VCRs, no DVDs. If you wanted to see it again, you went to the theater again. I will confess that as an adult, I skipped the so-called prequels. And during a recent bout of COVID, I rewatched chapters 4 through 9 multiple times. As an adult, what moves me about these films is how the covenant the rebels keep with each other forges these brash, sassy, strong individuals into a community that depends on one another to remain faithful and true to the cause. It is in choosing the covenant that they choose each other. They allow the force to bind them to one another, and they forgive each other when someone acts poorly. It's the covenant through invoking the force that allows the passing down of values and traditions to a new generation, and the covenant that guides the rebels to the middle path of equanimity for themselves and their community. Covenants indeed transcend time and history. The first covenants recorded in the Bible are hierarchical covenants rather than mutual. These covenants do not seek the consent of those who are covered by the covenant, and only one party is a visible actor. There are legal covenants as well, those that outline how we live in our neighborhoods, for example. However, legalistic, one-way covenants are not the covenants of Unitarian Universalism. Ours is a faith that's covenantal rather than creedal, and that can be a powerful source of comfort and community for each one of us. Our covenants create a loving force, if you will, that guide our interactions forge strong community ties out of diverse individuals, and provide a roadmap for forgiveness when things go awry. And they will, because we're human. The covenants which guide our interactions here in this congregation are, in short, we will be mindful of how we communicate with and about others. We'll seek a respectful and constructive resolution when conflicts arise. We will enrich our own lives by celebrating the diversity within our community, and we will build the beloved community. And my intention today is not to examine the individual points of our covenants, but to examine the transformative moments that happen when we as a congregation are willing to accept these commitments to one another and allow them to be the force that unites our congregation. Just as the rebels of Star Wars chose rebellion again and again freely, they allow the force to work among them, so we too choose. Love is the force, in our case. A love that is chosen again and again, a love that can be redemptive and healing, creating the mutuality that brings many of us here. Our covenants are horizontal, between and among each other. It is, in fact, the thing that powers our faith and our congregations, our willingness to have our conduct guided by our mutual commitments to one another. A covenant, a promise, can only exist with intention and can only be kept alive by attention. That comes to us from a report on the power of covenant written by the UUA. It is the force of covenant, for example, that leads us to work together in community to support one another, to bring to life the concept of interdependence in our seventh principle, the spirit of covenant that leads us to support one another in our own search for truth and meaning, as found in our fourth principle. It is the liberating force, not limiting, that allows us to show up as our whole selves and create a braver space and work together to help build the beloved community. According to that report from the UUA Commission, which was written in 2021, and it was entitled Unlocking the Power of Covenant, the covenants we keep shape us into better people because we choose to create connections with one another and forge a collaborative community. It is the covenant willingly chosen that invites us into relationship again and again. Our faith is a deeply individualistic one, as is reflected in our principles. Yet, it is the love displayed in our covenants that draws us into community with each other. It supports our collective identity as members of UUCOD. The spirit of the Rebel Alliance is a diverse group of creatures and humans who don't dress alike, they don't look alike, they don't think alike, but they love alike. They fight for the oppressed and the marginalized. They fight for freedom and the right to self-determination. It is the force that binds them into a community willing to risk their lives for the common welfare. So too, according to a study done on UUs and covenants, it is our ideals that bind us into a community, and those ideals are held in our covenants. The author of the study concludes, unlike mainline Christian church services, which are litanies to a liturgy of a hierarchical faith, congregants express a covenant to personally hold the truth and grow within the church. Individuals are shaped within the context of community. It is our desire to join in common purpose with one another that is liberated by our covenants. This is the place where our willingness to be disturbed and set down our certainty begins to flow with the work of the congregation. Our covenants call on us not to think alike, but to love alike, and they guide that loving in a manner meant to provide freedom and safety for each one of us. We are a freedom-loving group of individuals who desire to make the world and ourselves more just and loving. I see it in the works of our congregation, in our classes, and our social times as well. Still, there will be times when things go awry or when there's conflict. Conflict is not unhealthy, although many of us fear it. Our covenants are not designed to stifle conflict, but they do provide a roadmap through conflict. Once again, forgiveness was central to keeping the rebels moving forward in their cause to defeat the empire. Numerous examples abound throughout all of the films, and it is the Force that provides the roadmap back for them. Think about the many conflicts when it looked like the rebels would be turned back. And in those moments, the rebels took a pause, breathed in to what must be faced. They did not slip into hatred of the adversary. They channeled their love and equanimity. We heard in the earlier reading that we need to listen more, not less, if things are to change, and that we must face uncertainty by leaning into one another, not turning away. Those are vulnerable things. As Reverend Ian shared, not turning away from our sacred promise to one another commits us to one another. Offering each other the redemptive love of healing is a vulnerable offering, as Bell Hooks tells us, and yet it's crucial in order to move through conflict. In recent services, we have listened to the lessons on the importance of resilience and what forgiveness and true atonement look like. Our covenants with each other support our resilience as a congregation and provide a pathway for when atonement is called for. The so what of it all is that covenants are not static or an object. They are a living, breathing force created by people who are very much alive and trying to be the best iteration of themselves. As we learn better, we do better, and our promises to each other grow more rich and deeper. Covenants between people are based on interactions with those we can trust. Trust in each other is built intentionally and over time. In Dare to Lead, Brene Brown uses the acronym BRAVING to remind us that trust does not just happen between people. Effective and vibrant covenants don't just happen either. And I believe they are created out of the same qualities that develop trust. B stands for boundaries. I tell you what is okay and what is not okay, and you tell me what is okay and what is not okay. And we honor that. R is for reliability. I do what I say I will, and I don't overcommit myself. A is for accountability. I will acknowledge my mistakes and I will make amends. V, one of my favorites, the vault. I will only tell things that are mine to tell. I, integrity. I will live into my values, not only do what is fast and easy, I will choose courage over comfort. In non-judgment, I will ask for help when I need it, and I will not judge myself for asking. You should ask for help when you need it, and you will not be judged for asking. And G, generosity. I will assume the absolute best about you at all times. Our covenants are not meant to be keepers of politeness, but rather to create a brave space where we can be fully ourselves. Our covenants remind us to be our best selves in the face of conflict, and to stay true to our promises to each other. Covenants are not a tool of control, but a roadmap for remembering to choose honesty, transparency, compassion, and cooperation when we disagree about important things. They are the roadmap that reminds us first and foremost we are invested in each other's well-being and the community that is created from the diverse, beautiful, complex individuals of the congregation. Individuals who choose each other time and again in order to make our world a better, richer, more just, and joyous place.
Thank you, Julia. Lots for us to ponder there and keep in our hearts as we move through our week and our lives. We're going to sing again, so I invite you please to rise in body or in spirit as we sing our closing hymn, number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our stories from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our heart yearns within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place. We're going to extinguish our chalice now, and so I invite you to speak the words of our extinguishing with me. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Continuing from the earlier reading by Margaret Wheatley. As the world grows more strange and puzzling and difficult, I don't believe most of us want to keep struggling through it alone. I can't know what to do from my own narrow perspective. I know I need a better understanding of what's going on. I want to sit down with you and talk about all the frightening and hopeful things I observe, and listen to what frightens you and gives you hope. I need new ideas and solutions for the problems I care about. I know I need to talk to you to discover those. I need to learn to value your perspective, and I want you to value mine. I expect to be disturbed by what I hear from you, and I know we don't have to agree with each other in order to think well together. There's no need for us to be joined at the head. We are joined by our human hearts. May it be so, friends. May it be so.